highs aren't super high and the lows aren't super low. That was something that really stood out to me about one of the best leaders I ever served under. And first of all, I'll calm down a little bit, guys. I saw some comments. People were asking if I was mad at you guys. I'm not mad at you guys. As a matter of fact, I love you guys. I love each and every one of you guys. I'm just very passionate about this time that we spend together.
Don't calm down, Chad. Don't calm down.
So this leader that I served under, I remember being in a situation where we had we were trying to capture a high value target, and we had target secure on this building. It was a big structure, but the person we were after was not in there. So basically, we got some intelligence telling us that we needed to flex to another target building in order to capture the guy that we were after. Well, about that time, something called QRF came, a quick response force, and it was an enemy quick response force. And that place turned into a freaking beehive, son. There was like secondary, tertiary contacts like popping off everywhere. And dudes were freaking running around like chickens with their head cut off because it just got crazy. And I remember my chief, and I can't tell you his name because I think he's still running and gunning. But I remember seeing him sitting in a chair in the corner. And he had his comms, his radio on with a headset. And he was keying up. And he was talking to aircraft. And he was calling in close air support on these enemy QRF out here. And this dude was sitting here in a chair, just like I'm sitting here in this chair right now. He was kicked back, talking to these aircraft over comms in the calmest, clearest, most concise voice. I don't think his heart rate ever raised a beat. He knew what needed to be done when chaos was happening all around him. All right, so the loudest voice in a room is not always the greatest leader. And I think that happens a lot. I'm new to this civilian life, but in the corporate world, in the civilian sector, a lot of times the loudest person in the room gets the most attention, and people think that that's what it takes to be a leader. Well, let me tell you, this dude that I served under, he never raised his voice. And he called in and rained down some of the most hellacious fire that I've ever seen in my life and totally crushed the enemy. And never had to raise his voice to do it. And I looked at this dude and I was like, that is a leader. Calm, cool, elected, humble. I can picture it in my mind right now. As a matter of fact, it's giving me chills. So that's just one story of a magnificent leader that I was fortunate enough to serve under during my time in the SEAL teams, guys.
That's a great example, Chad, man. Like, whatever the leader does, it trickles down into whoever he's leading. It's like if you're leading a group of men or a group of people, and people are following that person, they see fear in their leader's eyes, they're going to be fearful. So you got to be calm and you got to be on point, because your group or your team that you're leading is looking at you, and what you give them is what they're going to give back to you. That's very important, man.
100%, brother. 100%.
Mark, have you had any bad leaders, bad coaches?
I've had some bad leaders in my time, and one of the things that I can think of is as it relates to being a part of a team. And I'm going to give myself as an example of being a bad leader. My young self, being in high school, being like the star of the team, and taking all the narcissism and everything that came along with it, pounding my chest, me. And being so young, being 16, 17 years old, not knowing what a real leader was, well, basically I was putting on a show what I thought a leader should be, what I see in movies and stuff like that. and having learned the hard way that people aren't going to follow you just because you're really, really good. You have all this talent. If they don't believe in you, they're not going to follow you. When it hits the fan, if they don't believe in you, they're not going to lay down the line. You know, like when I used to play sports, when I played sports, I knew that somebody was counting on me. I knew that if I didn't do my job, it would affect the person that was counting on me to do my job. So I think just, I've had experiences being a bad leader. Being a bad leader is somebody that's pounding their chest, that's not taking into account his teammates' feelings. And at the end of the day, that person's not going to see success. So I think being selfish is a really big point of being a bad leader.
Yep, I'm going to add a couple of things very quickly. I think that great leaders know their lane. They know that not everyone can play shortstop. I know my weaknesses. I'm not a good operator. I'm not a good manager. I'm good at vision. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm bad at. And I know I got to stay out of the lanes that I'm not good at. If you're not a good negotiator, but you're the leader, get someone that's a good negotiator. Good leaders don't try to play every position because of ego. They don't let ego come in and, they dominate across the board because they think they can do everything. They really stay in their lane. And I always tell people, at Marquee Jet, I used to have people, they would go in, they try to sell like Kenny and I, my partner and I. And I'd be like, you can't sell like Kenny and I. We're the founders of the company. If you're a single mom, talk about being a single mom. Don't try to, and stay in your lane. And I think great leaders really do that. They stay in their lanes. I think that great leaders are unwavering in their commitment and their passion. They never, deviate from that. And, I know somebody, and I'm not going to say this person's name, who is in an incredible position of power in the sports world. Incredible position of power. And I remember having a meeting, and this particular person in the meeting said something about someone that wasn't in the room. I thought was inappropriate. That was a violation of, if I was that person, I wouldn't want it to be shared. And the person went from a great leader publicly to someone that I thought was not a great leader personally. Because great leaders don't talk about people behind their back like that. They don't show their cards like that. Great leaders, what you see is what you get. And I will say, there's only a handful of people that I could say I know that fit in that bucket. These guys, what I love about Mark, Chad obviously, and Mark obviously, I feel the same about both you guys. Mark will tell somebody to their face, man, I don't like it. I don't like what you said. Like, there's no gray. There's no gray. And my friend Matt Candell, same thing, no gray. And it's not what he says. He doesn't care if it gets back to somebody, but it's not behind the back. And great leaders, they don't do that. They don't stab somebody when nobody's around. It's consistency, and it's an art. And it's more than leadership, man. It's a lifestyle. And, it's easy to say, you know what, listen, the guy that runs that company, I don't know if you should buy from them, buy from me because this, blah, 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 blah. You don't sell by selling against somebody.
Yeah.
You don't do that, man. You certainly don't share secrets to belittle somebody because you don't think it's going to get back. God, that person didn't know if I knew or didn't know that person. As it turns out, I do know that person. So I guess what I'm really talking about is integrity in leadership, and but integrity beyond leadership too. So leadership is a really amazing topic because leadership rears its head in all areas, in parenting, in business, in friendship, in this community, everything. So I'm glad we got to scratch the surface on this call tonight. I want to be mindful of the time. Were you gonna say something, Mark?
Yeah, there's not enough time to go over everything in this leadership, man. Like, we could be here for 4 or 5 hours, man, talking about leadership.
Yep, and character. And we will. We can come back to this topic, but I do think we should segue into what we're going to talk about and learn this month. Chad, did you have anything that you want? And Mark, by the way, I didn't mean to say that in a negative way at all. I'm saying it as a compliment. I respect that about you. And you'll tell me, man, I don't like the way you did that, or it's not like or, and I like that. I want to be better at that. I'm on friend reduction.